Thanks for joining us for the Long Island Sound podcast. Each week we explore new music and dive deeper with the artists and their stories behind the music. Please subscribe and rate and review us wherever you stream this podcast. Here's your host, Steve Yusko.
You are in store for a wild ride of an interview with Pamela Betti. I had probably the best time I've ever had interviewing someone. She's a well-known blues singer from Long Island. She's taken her music across the world. We're going to hear a couple of her original tunes. We really had a blast. She has some great advice for up-and-coming singer-songwriters, and we'll learn about her journey in the music industry. Let's take a listen to her cover of the song Voodoo Woman. You're going to enjoy it.
I got a toad frog in my shoe. I got a crown daddy on my shoulder, honey, looking right at you. Got some dust from a rattlesnake and a black spider bone. That don't do it, baby. You better leave that girl alone. They call me the voodoo woman. Yeah, I know that reason why. Yes, I'm gonna make that sky cry now. Come on, make it right. get you, baby. That's right.
Pamela Betti is a fabulous singer, a performer, a songwriter, and inductee to the New York Blues Hall of Fame. I had the great opportunity to see her perform at the Warehouse in Amityville. And within a few moments, I was smitten with her soulful voice and really captivating stage presence. She has worked with some of the biggest acts in the business: Joe Bonamassa, Taylor Dwayne, Rick Springfield, Papa Chubby, the Lords of 52nd Street, and the Fabulous Thunderbirds, just to name a few. What a privilege to have Pamela Betti on the program. Pamela, welcome to the Long Island Sound Podcast. So good to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me, Steve.
Yeah, so let me just give you a little backstory. On a Sunday afternoon, the Long Island Blues Society, right? Is that the proper name?
Yes,
Yeah.
the Long Island Blues Society, yes.
Was running an event to help send a couple of people, Kelly Baker and another gentleman who I forget right now.
Yes. They were going to Memphis to compete in the International Blues Challenge in Memphis, Tennessee.
Right, which you did as well, from what I understand, right?
Yeah, I went down to Memphis twice. I went down in 2007 and back again in 2020.
It's great. I tell you, Beale Street is really a wonderful place. And over the years, I haven't been there probably in 10 years, but when I was there, they really did a nice job. It's very touristy, but there are blues clubs, it seems like, every 10 feet.
Yeah, it's great. It's a fantastic experience, yep.
Yeah, and B.B. King's down there was really phenomenal, and there was the Queen of Memphis, and of course I forgot her name. She was phenomenal, and just what a...
You're forgetting a lot of people's names tonight,
I know.
Steve.
It's Monday. It's Monday. What can I tell you?
Oh, my goodness.
So let me ask you this, Pamela. You know, obviously you've been singing for a number of years, and when did you start? When did you find your voice, your style, in a way to the way you sing today? Was it always
I
that
actually
way?
love this question. Now, I do love this question because people assume that I started very young, you know, or I was like a kid and I was singing and dancing and I was in all these school shows and school plays, and that's not my experience at all. I did a few random things in school, but it wasn't my focus.
Okay.
It wasn't until I was in my 20s and my sister married a very, very accomplished guitar player named George Chapman, and I sang at my sister's wedding with the band, with his band, and everybody kind of went, "When could you sing?" And I knew I always wanted to sing, and I enjoyed it, and I loved it, and I loved performing. Especially in college, I did comedy.
Okay.
I was a cocktail waitress in a comedy club, and one night the comic didn't show up, and the owner, nice little Jewish man, "Listen, you're funny. Get up there. Do something funny."
Oh,
and
wow.
I just put my tray down, and I got up, and I started doing a spiel, and then I started doing a spiel like on a regular basis there. But it didn't really come to fruition. It was, doing comedy is really hard work. You can't just get up there and be funny. It's a lot of hard work, and then people can steal your material. So it wasn't until my sister got married that I sang at my sister's wedding, and everybody was like, "Why are you not doing this like all the time?"
Oh, wow.
And my brother-in-law took me under his wing, and that's really how I started, and that was in the 90s.
Wow. You know what's interesting?
So
I'm sorry.
I'm kind of a late bloomer because I'm in my 50s now. So I've been doing this for like 30 years now.
Well, that's the two things that I love about music is one, by the way, you play the best instrument in the world, and that's your voice, which is the most beautiful instrument that there could ever be. And there's an art to that and a lot of work that goes into that. But, you could sing until you're in your 90s, hopefully, if you take care of your health and your voice. Right. But the other thing that's kind of interesting, and the fact that you went up and did comedy, I think that's, by the way, getting up on stage to try to make people laugh, especially doing it spur of the moment, takes a lot of guts because you're naked out there, so to speak, and you've really got to work the audience and win them over within a matter of like 30 seconds, really, I think, to kind of take it off. But it gives you...
I feel very, very comfortable. I feel very comfortable on stage, especially when I'm funny. That's in my comfort zone. I think when I have to be a little more serious is when I get scared. Like, it's really easy for me to be the goofball and funny. So what's interesting is now in my shows now, I get to do both.
Okay.
So if somebody walks in a place and I'm in the middle of a spiel, they're like, "Oh my God, who's this crazy lady?" And then I open my mouth to sing and sing with the band, and they're like, "Wow, that's really cool." So it's not like I've ever left my comedy roots. I kind of bring it into what I'm doing now. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. So I'm very lucky that way.
Yeah, but you know what you also do is you win over the audience because whether it's public speaking or playing music or comedy, there are people who want to see you succeed for the most part, and I think the key is how do you turn them to say, hey, she's a lovable gal or guy, and yeah, I want to, they lean in, I want to hear more, type of thing. And you can mix that with music. And that brings me to another point, because I'm not going to talk about people anymore because my brain is fried as far as remembering anybody. So I'm going to avoid that by any means necessary. Is when you go up on stage, how do you feed off the audience? And what if you have a crappy audience? You know what I'm saying?
There is no crappy audience.
Okay.
It's
fair enough.
There is no crappy audience because I think the people, and that's a good question, because there are some venues that you go to and it's a different kind of crowd than, say, another venue.
Right.
You have to be able to read the room and know who your audience is to draw them in. So, and I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
Without being politically incorrect, I will try as hard as I can.
Don't worry about it.
So, the Long Island crowds are great because they love live music and they're very receptive. I find that when I go into the city, or if I have gigs in Brooklyn, or in one of the other 5 boroughs, is that it's a bit of a tougher crowd.
Okay.
In other words, people are trying to be very cosmopolitan and fabulous, and oh my God, and what are you going to do for me? So I have to read that room, and that's when the comedy Pam kicks in and makes them feel automatically comfortable, and then they're like, "Oh, okay, I get this chick."
Right.
And then I can play my music and draw them in. So it's also, you have to kind of be fearless. You have to, like you said, you're naked, you're on stage, but you have to be able to put yourself out there without worrying about what everybody's going to think so much, and just do you. And I think people appreciate that too.
Yeah.
I have people come up to me and say, "Wow, you're so comfortable. You make me feel so comfortable." Or I make direct eye contact with the people in the audience. Like, I'll look right at them. Just these little nuances that make such an impact when you're dealing with an audience. But you have to really just know how to read the room.
Yeah, and you know what? The other thing I find, because I think I'm like you in a way that I use comedy in tense situations to kind of diffuse things and kind of hide. To be honest with you, to kind of hide my fear, because that's how I deal with things. My brother is pretty much the same. We kind of go back and forth, and that helps us get through things. Not everybody gets it because it can come off as distasteful depending upon the situation. But it's a tool in your tool belt, I think, to endear yourself to your audience, whether that audience is 3 people, with a cocktail, chatting with each other and doing some self-effacing humor. That kind of makes you, hey, yeah, they're a regular person. I can tune into them. I think is kind of neat. But let me ask this: how did you become a blues singer? Or do you call yourself a blues singer? I don't know. I don't want to nail you down to a genre.
No, I absolutely do.
Okay.
And living on Long Island, I've had to branch out into other genres, obviously, to keep working. But I'll tell you exactly when I knew this is what I wanted to do. Is I was at Tramps, which is an old club in the city.
Okay.
And I went with, at the time, my saxophone/harmonica player took me to see Etta James.
Wow.
At Tramps. Small club. We had a table right in front of her.
Okay.
And she was literally maybe 3 feet away from me. And this big, immense woman comes out. She sits down on this stool and she opens her mouth to sing. And that was the end for me. I was like, holy crap, this is what I want to do. The emotion and the energy and her her styling, and I was in love. And I was like, you know what? This is what it's all about. And it was also for me, because I've had a lot of issues with body image and weight,
okay.
and that was always a big thing for me. And in blues, it's almost like all of that gets thrown out the window because nobody really gives a shit. Sorry if can I curse on the show? Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's
nobody
no
gives
worries.
a shit. Like, you ever see my big thing right now is, do you ever see a skinny blues singer? No, because it's they've been through a lot, and you literally wear your heart on your sleeve, and you're singing out all your trauma and all this crap. And I just fell in love with Edith, and she actually spoke to me after the set, and I was like, oh, Miss James, that was so wonderful. And I said, I would love to do what you do. And she goes, girl, if you can sing, just keep doing you, baby. She goes, just keep doing you. And then she walked away, and I was like, oh my God, that was it. So.
Wow. Now, when you saw Etta, she was up in years at that time when you had seen her?
She was, but she wasn't old. This was in the 90s, so she wasn't like decrepit or anything. No, she was doing her thing. This was before she had her weight loss surgery. She was still big, heavy girl doing her thing. So no, this was in the 90s, and this was at a very pivotal time when I was trying to figure out what genre was I going to sing, because I was in a cover band singing everything, jazz, country, and I was like, I don't want to be a wedding singer. There's got to be a purpose to what I'm doing. I can't just sing this crap. And when I saw Etta, I was like, that's it.
Wow. You know what I love about blues as a genre, and blues is an interesting lament of, whoa, things are difficult, and it usually comes up with some sort of happy ending, not all the times, but many times in it. And I think, at least for me, I can only talk about the connection that I make as a person in the audience, particularly when it comes to singers like yourself who bear their souls through their voice, something I find difficult to do. And that gives us kind of a modus operandi to say, you know what, there's somebody out there who's feeling what I'm feeling, and they're expressing it right back to me. So guess what? I'm not the only one that's feeling the pain of a divorce or body image or you name it. Someone's expressing that feeling. And I think, a good friend of mine, Mike Nugent, told me years ago, he said,
I love Mikey Nugent.
Do you know Mikey? Yeah. Mike's
everybody knows Mike.
Mike's great. And Mike was like, what do you do this, Mike? He goes, music heals the world. And I thought that was the most corniest thing in the world. And then I said, wait a second, I got to dwell on this. And it really does, because it does heal the soul. And I guess I'm yapping along too much here, is that the sad thing is, as a performer, as an artist, you may get a glimpse into that healing that you've done for people when they come up to you afterwards. But I can promise you there are tens of thousands of people that you've healed through your music that you'll never meet until maybe someday in heaven. I don't know,
Yeah, there's a seat up there for all of us, I hope.
Yeah.
There better be one for me. I don't go to church, though, because I'm afraid I'm going to burst into flames when I hit the front door. So
that's because you're going to the wrong church. Yeah.
We'll see.
We can talk. Oh God, I can talk. I used to be a deacon in the Catholic Church, so I could. There, you were a deacon. Forget it. Oh God, yeah. So I can't believe you cursed. You actually cursed. Hey, let's do this. Our audience got to hear Voodoo Woman coming in. That's an original piece, right, of yours?
Nope, Voodoo Woman. No.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, Voodoo. It's just such a great version that we did. I love it so much, but a lot of blues people do Voodoo Woman, but I love our take on it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's nice. You can put your nuances in there. And we chose that one. It's a great song, and before I have a guest on, I kind of speed date their music, a few days before, and that actually jumped out at me. So I'm glad we chose that as the first one for our guests to hear. No, you're welcome. Hey, let's do this. Let's just take a quick break, and when we come back, I got to think of some good questions to stump you with. Hey, everybody, we'll be back with Pamela Betti. Just hang with us. At the Long Island Sound, we're much more than a podcast. We're building a community. Please go to gigdestiny.com, check out all our social media links, Subscribe wherever you listen to the podcast. Please comment. Call the listener line. Tell us what you think, what questions we should ask, who we should have on the show. And most of all, we thank you for your generous support. And remember, support the artists who are guests on the show. Now back to the podcast. Hey, everyone. We are back with Pamela Betti. Pamela, it's so great to have you here. I got to ask you this. So you say you started late in your 20s. You weren't like a prodigy kid at 10 years old singing the blues, before going through adolescence. But now you just come off the wedding. You get that encouragement of, hey, what the hell are you doing? You should be doing this. Okay,
right.
Where did it progress? Like, where did it go for you from that point? And what were your expectations, I guess?
I had zero expectations because I was like, okay, I had the support of my brother-in-law who said, why don't you come and sing backup with me in my band? And that's when I started playing in the city quite a bit. Kenny's Castaways, Lion's Den, Terror Blues, every live music venue. And then his bandmates said, hey, Pam, why don't we start a band with you being like the lead? Because my brother-in-law had his own thing, which, he was the lead. And I couldn't be a backup singer for long because of my personality. Like, I am no backup singer.
Gotcha.
I will do backup for some people if they ask me if it's like, a friend's band or I think it'll be fun. But it's very hard for me to not be in the spotlight. And that's not being stuck up. It's just my personality.
Yeah, it's who you are.
Right. It's just hard for me to be I'm no wallflower. So, if Pam Betti walks in a room, Pam Betti's in the room. It's just who I am.
Right.
So, so I did get, my feet wet, so to speak, with my brother-in-law and singing, and he would give me a couple of songs to sing by myself, and that's when I was like, wow, there was nothing like being out front leading a band. And I learned so much from those experiences, and then started my very first band with his bandmates, and it was called the Full Spectrum Band. And the reason why it was called that is because we were doing so many different genres. But I connected very much with Doc Blues was my harp player and my saxophone player, and he was the guy who said, Pam, you really should be singing the blues. Let me take you to go see Etta James. And that was when that whole...
It really kicked off for you.
Correct.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I'm interviewing different artists. One, to be critical, I've seen artists who play very well, sing very well, but I wouldn't categorize them as entertainers, or I put them in the category that's a performer. That's somebody, and a couple criteria for me is connecting with the audience, being so true to themselves that you go, I know who this person is by their gregariousness out there, and I want to know more or I want to hear more. That's what separates people. And what's interesting is you were already mentally set up to be a front person. I think it's got to be extremely difficult for those who've been on the sidelines per se and then get thrust into the front position, because you're the captain, and you're directing things,
and you really do drive that ship. You really do, and you really have to know what you're doing. So I would say for people that are currently in the back and want to come up in the front, just make sure that you do your homework and you're on your game,
right?
Because you're driving the ship. So the musicians behind you, they're going to follow your direction. If you just stand up there and sing, they don't know where they're going.
Oh, I got you.
Who's taking the solo? Are we taking it from the 5? Are we going to the bridge? Like, you have to know all that stuff.
Right.
But I learned that the hard way. Again, I didn't go to music school. I'd had a couple of vocal coaches, when I was found myself. Actually, before my sister's wedding, I even tried to get some singing lessons. And you know what somebody told me? I had a singing teacher who said, you know what? You're too fat to be a singer, so you should just quit. That's what somebody told me.
Holy shit!
So in actuality, I did try to start when I was young, but that guy just decimated me. Wow. And I didn't want to do it again, and for years, because and that's when words or what you say to people can stay with them forever. But so, in all fairness, I did start young But that guy, that singing teacher, just blew it out of the water for me, and I waited all those years until I got my confidence back, and then I sang at my sister's wedding, and that's when everybody said, wow, you can do this.
Right.
So you just got to be very careful what you say to people.
Yeah, you know it is, and so we lost 10 years of Pamela Betti that could have been out there.
Yes.
And
Yep.
yet there's some people I'm the kind, sometimes, maybe this is wishful thinking, you tell me I can't do it, I'm going to try my best to freaking do it and prove you wrong, because I want to do a na-na-na-na to you with that. But that's not always the case. You can internalize things and cripple people, with
well, that's how I am now. But not then. I was a kid.
Oh. Yeah, I can imagine, right? You're trying to figure out who you are, right?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
You know what? So, the other thing in you being the front person, and I kind of tune into this as I'm watching different bands to see how they communicate. I was just out in Sag Harbor, and I saw, who did I see? Nancy Atlas and Gene Casey.
Casey, yeah.
Yeah, and Gene wasn't with the Lone Sharks, but he was in there, and it was all and they were great. And I was like, wow.
That's the Friday night fireside sessions that
Correct.
Nancy has. Yep.
Right, right. So that's the first time I've been out there to see that, and it was
Wasn't that a great show?
Great show. People were dancing in front of the band, and my wife was like, I can't believe this. This is great. It's a theater, and they're jumping out and dancing like it's, American Bandstand. It was great. But I look for, as I'm watching people live, I'm looking for that nuance or that communication. Sometimes it's like, take it, Billy, or other times it's a wink and a nod, and it's very interesting to see how that communication develops, I guess, over time. So
Right.
So now you start your own band. You said the Spectrum, the broad spectrum.
Oh, well, the Full Spectrum band, and that was not my
spectrum.
band. That was the very first
Okay.
band that I was asked to participate in, and that was after my sister's wedding with my brother-in-law's bandmates.
Gotcha. Who
and then
took
I
the
did that.
Who took the lead?
Who took the lead? It was the guitar player at the time, who has since passed away, because this was a long time ago.
Sorry.
But he, he kind of took the lead, and I was in that band for a few years. But then I started to say, hey, I have a lot of power in this band since I'm the singer. And this guy is maybe not doing the right thing, or I'm not getting paid enough, or I'm kind of in control here. So what am I going to do, for me? Because there's got to be more to this. And I did that for a number of years in that band, but then I kind of broke away and said, I can do this. Let me get a band going. So now I'm living in Brooklyn.
Okay.
So I'm living in Brooklyn in Dyke Heights. Dyke Heights. I love the Dyke. The Dyke Heights.
Beautiful. Great
And,
Christmas lights during the season.
I'm so glad I lived a couple of blocks away from that, so I didn't have to deal with that.
Right, it's a zoo.
It was good to walk to, but not drive to. So I tried getting a band when I was living in Brooklyn, and it was like one band after another. And now, mind you, they all want to do 90s music, because now it's like the early 2000s, and everybody's doing the 90s music.
Sure.
And I just wasn't feeling it. And I'm like, I want to go back to the blues. I want to start doing that. And then my mom passes away.
Oh.
So now I'm in Brooklyn for 10 years. Just my wheels are spinning. I'm not going anywhere. My mom passes away, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to move back home to Long Island. There's nothing happening from me here in Brooklyn. I can't get anything musically together. Everybody's a duturu. Nobody wants to do what I want to do. So I moved back to Long Island, and I made a promise to myself. I said, look, I'm going back home to move back in with my dad because he needs me. My mom's gone. I said, but if I move back to Long Island, I am going to find a band, and that's it. I'm going to get into a band. That was like a goal.
Sure.
So the first week that I'm back on Long Island, I go out to Amityville to the Joe Vicino Jam. Now, I don't know if you know who Joe Vicino is.
Yes, I do. Yep. Joe used to do a lot of Stevie Ray Vaughan stuff.
Yep. He was a very integral part of my Long Island musicianships, for lack of a better term. And I really respected him, and I thought he was such a great player. And I said, let me go to this open jam. Now, he really didn't know who I was. I knew who he was because I had seen him a few times. When I would come back out to Long Island, I would see him over at Bell's at the airport. Do you remember Bell's Blues Club? It was
long time ago.
a Southern Southern food kitchen owned by this wonderful, gregarious, fun black woman named Belle, and it was named Belle's, and it was a blues club at the West Hampton Airport.
Wow.
Go figure. But that was a great time, and that's where I would go see Joe. And then I said to myself, okay, I'm going to find this Joe guy. I'm going to go out there. Went out to Amityville, went to his gym, and of course he doesn't know me from a hole in the wall, and I tell him I'm a singer. Now,
Right.
how many guys that have an open jam hear that?
Right,
And
sure.
they like roll their eyes. Oh God, here's a female
Here we
singer.
go.
Well, he made me wait until like 1 o'clock in the morning. I finally
Okay.
get up there to sing with him, and I look at him and I go, "Really, dude?" He goes, "What are you gonna sing? Do you even know what key you're gonna sing it in?" And I'm like,
Oh,
"Yes,
wow.
asshole. As a matter of fact, I do know." And we started playing, and then he looked at me and he gave me a wink, and we started laughing, and I looked at him, and that was it. We had this great relationship. He's like, "Pam, I'm so sorry. I really didn't know you could sing. I don't know who you are." And I said, "That's okay.
course.
Now you'll never forget me, you pain in the ass." So that was me and Joe that first night, and we had a great friendship. But that night, there were some other musicians in the room as well, and they said, "Wow, we're looking for a female singer."
Okay.
The band was called Black Cat Bone. And they
Okay.
said, "We really need a girl singer. Can you come to a couple of rehearsals? We'd like to get you in the band." And that's when I started singing with Black Cat Bone. And so I moved home to Long Island, and 3 months later, I'm singing with this band at my very first Riverhead Blues Festival.
Oh my God, that's great. Wow.
And that was like, I don't even know, 2006.
Okay.
I don't remember the date because I'm old now, so I don't know. But
You know,
but
you know
that's
what,
how I started on Long Island.
But you know what? Yeah. Even if it's a small vision to say, "Hey, I'm going back, and this is what I want to do." You know, you kind of plant that seed in your subconscious, and you go out and you find the opportunities, and that's from the successful singer-songwriters from Long Island that I've met. It's the ones that don't say no to any opportunity and get very proactive in going out and finding their voice, so to speak. You know.
Right.
So, hey,
Well,
I want to talk.
I go ahead.
No, I'm cutting you off. Go ahead.
No, please cut me off. I talk too much anyway.
All right. So be quiet. So let's talk about Betty's Blues. It's an original song that I want our audience to hear. So tell me how that came about.
Well, I wrote that when I was in the Full Spectrum band with the guitar player. So this song was something that we did a very, very long time ago. And I just finally decided I needed to do it with my band. So I wrote it. I wrote it in like, I don't know, 10 minutes.
Go, wow.
Yeah, and I wrote it with the guitar player. You know, again, I have to collaborate. Obviously, I don't read music, but I have a very good ear. So if I want to write a song, many times I'll sing it to the person I'm collaborating with, or I'll record it. It could be either a piano player or guitar player, and that's how I write music. Because I have stuff in my head all the time, but I can't write it because I don't. You know, I didn't go to school. I don't know how to read or write music, which is such a shame. And I probably could, but it's like learning Portuguese to me.
Right, sure.
But yeah, you know, it's like writing Japanese. So that's how I work when I write songs.
Well, let me ask you this: when you were encouraged to say, "Hey, you don't know it, but you're a really good singer, and get out there and do it,"
right.
When did you cross that bridge to say, "I can also act on the muse or the voices in my head and produce music or write music"? When did that happen? Around the same time, or did that eventually come?
No, it happened all around the same time with the very first
Okay.
band, and I knew that I wanted to express myself and get it out on paper and record my own stuff.
Gotcha.
But again, I have to have the right collaborator. Like I can hum and sing, and I know exactly how I want the song to sound, but I have to have somebody who really gets me. So I've been very
Gotcha.
fortunate that I've written plenty of songs with plenty of really good musicians. So I've been very lucky that way.
Wonderful. All right, let's listen to Betty's Blues. We'll be right back with Pamela Betti. Check it out, everyone.
I keep wondering to myself, Lord, I keep wondering what is wrong with me. I keep wondering to myself, Lord, I keep wondering, yeah, what is wrong with me. listen up, boy. You say you want a woman and not another toy. Don't give me no swing you're talking. I said I won't be used. You want an answer, but I'm confused. I keep wondering to myself, Lord. I keep wondering what is wrong with me. I said no matter how much money you make, baby, you can get my love for free. Yeah. I said I love you, baby. Can't you see it? Yeah, in my eye. I said I love you, honey. Can't you see it? Yeah, in my eye. I believe that my thoughts are truths, but they turn out to be lies. I believe that my thoughts are truths, but they turn out to be lies. I believe that my thoughts are truths, but they just turned out. I said they just turned out. I said they just turned out, yeah. I said they turned out to be
So we're back with Pam Betti, and I have a confession to make. And I mean this honestly. I've never had such a great time interviewing somebody as I have interviewing you, Pam. You're nuts, by the way. You're crazy. And
I know, in a good way, though.
and yeah, a good, happy crazy. And that's why I think we made a connection here,
We did.
So I'm so happy that you're doing what you're doing. You're getting to play with other people. I can't wait to see you out and again, for a full show. It was kind of a teaser at the Long Island Blues Society. So I got to catch you as the weather gets warm out here.
Well, I think this summer you and your wife get on the ferry and you come out to Fire Island. You will have the best time of your life.
Tell you what we'll do. We'll take our boat out because I live on a canal and I could shoot over to Kismet in no time out of Babylon.
Yes! Well, I'll be at Atlantique, but you shoot over there, baby.
Yeah, I could.
And I'm going to get you some of those. What are those drinks on Fire Island that you're going to end up in a shopping cart?
I don't know. It's like a hurricane. Forget it.
No, I can't believe I can't think of it. But there's drinks. They're frozen, and if you have one, your underwear's around your ankles.
They're like $18 drinks, I think. Yeah.
That's right. I think I can hook you up. I got a guy.
You got a guy?
I got a guy.
Anyway, hey, you know what? I end a lot of my podcasts this way, and I really mean this. And my friend Bob Murray, who I'm going to see this weekend, said, Steve, you can account for what you have in the bank for what you own. You can never account for the time you have left here on Earth. And the fact, Pam, that you gave me time just to be with you today and connect and talk about your music is a blessing. So I really appreciate it. So.
Oh, that's very sweet.
Yeah, so I'd look to have you back on, and then, we'll just, you know what? The next episode, it'll be me and you get your phone book out, and we'll just call people. And we'll drink.
That would be awesome.
That would be actually.
Let's order pizza to, like, Richie's house.
And on that note, everyone, we'll see you next time. Take care. Thank you for joining us today. I appreciate the time you spent with us. Please subscribe and comment and visit us at gigdestiny.com. Till next time, be generous with your joy, keep your spirits high, and let the music take you on a journey. Be well. Peace.